if you're all happy, I'll just go straight into it, thanks. You've had a basic simple agenda. We're trying to keep the same format that I think the parish meeting here belongs held for a number of years. So I've written out basically a welcome, and then I'll go through the rest of the agenda for tonight. So, welcome to the Annual Parish meeting. I'm Moreton-in-Marsh, Chairman of the Town Council, and thank you all for attending this evening. As you're probably aware, as the title says, it's a meeting for officials in Moreton-in-Marsh to speak on topics they wish to discuss. So, it's your meeting. Now, our parish has a parish council here, and therefore if I, the current chairman, happens to attend as a resident, partake in any discussion or listens to views of any parishioners, I'm legally obliged to chair this meeting, and that's, believe me, the only reason myself. That's what it's saying. It's also an opportunity that we take for various members of volunteer groups or charities to give the parish a report if they so wish. I'll take the opportunity to report on some issues, and after agreeing last year's minutes, there will be a reading of a community policing report, followed by statements or reports from various people, including members of the football and cricket clubs. Martin Cooper, I understand, is here from the Scouts. Craig Thurling, Chair of the Moreton-in-Marsh Flood Action Group. Jeff Ben, Chair of Trustees from the Cotswold Friends. Sam Frith from Revolution. And Nick Lowe, Chair of Trustees from Weedsdale Court. Now, there may be further residents who wish to highlight any other further volunteer work currently being undertaken, and there will be an open opportunity for petitions to raise other matters for discussion. Okay. In no particular order, I'd like to mention some of the work the Council over the last year, before moving on to the larger aims for the future. We've successfully opened a new established QVG play park, renovated the skate park for the younger members of the community, and supported things like allotment awards and entries to the Moreton competitions. The twice-a-year litter pick has continued, and grants have been provided for various purposes, including monies to enable the Christmas Lights Committee to achieve their aim of securing new lights for the Christmas period, support provision of the CAB, Citizens Advice Bureau, palliative care provided through Kate's Nursing Home, school workshops through the work of the Rotary Club, and we've also established climate and youth provision working groups that hopefully also attract further volunteer involvement. And at this point, I'd like to thank the many volunteers that make this community worth fighting for. And that's from those who support all Christmas activities, the many sports and activity clubs, the annual property appeals, the workers on the town tree gardens, Speed Watch, those that assist the Allotments and Cemeteries Committee and the Neighbourhood Development Plan, and those being vigilant in the quality of our water courses, and to those supporting our local charities such as the Cotswold Friends and Weedsdale Court. And that's an etc., etc., etc. And I could go on for some time. To me, it's clear the town can move forward to a great community spirit future if we all work together. Now, we all know that change can sometimes be tough, and some aims for the future might be new to some, long overdue to others, and at times challenging. However, I can assure you that the Town Council, as part of the local government, doesn't exist to dictate, but to take tough, collective, responsible decisions after listening to your views and perspectives and reach by consensus solutions that will benefit us all. I want to move on to three major pieces of a jigsaw that aims to secure the town future with a much improved public realm for residents, visitors, local businesses alike, and a town that can be enjoyed by all and move away from the congested site that we see today. Firstly, the council has been moving towards the support for successfully renovated Weedsdale Court to enable its charitable objective to act as the town's village hall by working with trustees to clarify the legal position and provide initial grant funding from reserves held for spending on the hall's requirements. This will enable the trust to apply for further external grants to bring the renovation to fruition. It's hoped that the community will make use of this iconic building as a central public amenity to be proud of, and Nick will be updating you on the progress. Secondly, this central point requires the surrounding of a public realm whereby our townsfolk can move around safely, while it remains a major route for access to the Cotswolds and a through route for the surrounding four counties. It's required to be a beautiful town for its residents to be proud of. To this end, we've been working with consultants and local authorities to improve the movement of traffic and transport methods, as well as pavements and parking arrangements. Many of you will have seen the early considerations for change at the public open sessions that have been held here, which were met with great support, and those are being honed with colleagues at the County Council. As soon as these are available, there will be further open public consultation on the plans and parking strategies to secure the support. Thirdly, to facilitate the improvements to the town centre is the provision of a transport hub at the most appropriate and strategic place available in the town, and that's alongside the train station, which is exactly why the council secured the site with its partners, GWR. This will not only enable multimodal transport shifts in and out of the town, and indeed the Cotswolds as a whole, supporting the commuting and travelling of our residents and visitors, but also open the door to rationalise the parking arrangements for the town centre and provide appropriate enforcement. Our architects are close to completing a plan which we will share with the town. Again, along the lines of ones previously shown at open public sessions, which also met with support. The council, together with its partners, will seek funding for the transport hub from stakeholders and third parties who are often the source for projects of this nature. It must be realised that the provision of such a site is in the interests of the town, the district, who in their recent local plan update consider it already exists, and the county. As I have said, there will be further public consultations along the way before all is achieved, and with the aim of ensuring the council keeps its line of communications open to all of you, we've established a communications working group with the role of identifying how this can be improved. One final mention should be made of the Cotswold District Council's recent consultation on a partial update to the local plan, and further concerns that have been raised by the League for County Council strategic plan that may affect the town and surrounding area. The council provided another open public discussion meeting to hear further of its residents' feelings and to highlight the need for all to respond as best they could to the consultation, which, to be kind, was a rather onerous task. We pored over the need to provide a clear and hopefully effective response for many hours before agreeing a final detailed response which is available online to see. And it's hoped that many residents took the opportunity to also respond in the like manner. At this point, we can only await the outcome from the planning authority. As regards any future plans, the council awaits any form of formal consultation on any points of consideration, and hopefully will respond in an achieved consensus of response as we've done so today. So I just want to end with the notice of a planned commemoration of D-Day on June the 6th, when the wreath will be laid at 11 o'clock in the morning, followed by the opportunity for refreshments here in the resale hall until 12:30, and it's hoped that residents will again do their town proud and attend. Thank you. What I'm going to move on is to approve the minutes of the parish meeting held on the 17th of April 2023. They have been online for obviously the best part of 12 months. It wasn't very well attended last time, but is there anybody that would have had the opportunity to see those got any comments on the minutes that were produced? If not, I'm happy, I've looked through them and I'm happy to sign them. Is anybody happy that did turn up last year, happy to sign, for me to sign those minutes? Okay. In which case I will sign the minutes. Okay, do that afterwards. Thank you. Okay. If I can move on, and Sarah's offered to read out the details of the community policing report for us. Thanks.
Yeah, just some figures that have come through from the neighbourhood policing team. The annual crime figures from the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024. Just some comparison figures. So I'll just go down the list. So the first figure I'll read out is this year's figures. So for violence, it was 192. 22-23 was 228. Burglary this year was 14, last year was 7. Theft this year was 40, last year was 47. Fraud, none this year, 1 last year. Criminal damage, 18 this year, 19 last year. Drugs, 1 last year, 2. Other is 11, 22-23 was 13. So basically those figures have all gone down. Apart from burglary, which is doubled. This year has seen a reduction in the overall crime rate. The total number of all calls into police has remained consistent. Apart from burglary, reduction has been spread across all the crime categories. on here for burglary prevention advice. This will be dropped into the minutes, so when the minutes go up online, you'll be able to click on the link and follow that through. It says we also offer a crime reduction survey where an officer will arrange a visit to your home to discuss security advice. If this would be of interest, please contact the local team via the email below. The email address is cotswold.npt@gloucestershire.police.uk. Again, that will be in the minutes document. The past month saw the resignation of PC Natalie Lansdowne, who wanted to pass on her thanks for all the help and support she received during her time in post and to wish everyone all the best for the future. At the time of writing, no replacement has been announced and we will keep you updated of any news. Moreton-in-Marsh Neighbourhood Policing Team.
Excellent. Right, if we can move through the reports and any comments any of the groups that are here. Go. The ones I've listed, I'll go through those first. Anyone from the football club? If not, I understand we have somebody to speak with the club.
Yep.
Thanks, Matt.
Evening. Hello. I'm standing in for Martin Jones. Many of you will know Martin, better known as Sarge. The cricket season is upon us. Our Batsford Road ground is looking beautiful. We hope to see many of you there during the season. In youth cricket, we've got about 100 kids aged 5 to 11 there on Friday nights. Had a good start to the season, both under 11s and under 15s. There's lots of the juniors now in the men's and women's adult teams, which is great. The Moreton women's squad, they won the Cheltenham and Cotswold Indoor League, winning all 10 matches. Hurrah for them. So players from 15 to 64, they train on Tuesday evenings. No experience necessary. So anyone who fancies game of cricket, get on to that. Yeah. There's a men's first and second 11s on Saturdays and often Sundays. My wife and I moved here about 18 months ago. I don't think there's anywhere better to be in Moreton in the summer than a drink in hand, watching the cricket and the sun setting over Batsford. So do come along and join us. Far more importantly than all of that, we are beginning the process of building a new pavilion on the ground. The sports field has been at Batsford Road since 1856, and the current pavilion was constructed in 1965. Many of you will have been there. Car boots, Moreton Beer Festival, so you can walk your dog for £25 a year. The pavilion has been maintained over the years by scores of volunteers, but is now becoming uneconomic to maintain and doesn't meet any modern standards for the environment or accessibility. And so we're looking to build a new community building, both to serve the cricket teams, other sports teams and the wider community, to help demonstrate the support and understand exactly what the community would like that building to look like. We have a questionnaire. Everyone's got a questionnaire these days. We've got some here. There's a QR code I've sneakily popped up on the notice board out there. If you'd like to help us, take a few minutes just to fill in that survey, we'd be hugely grateful. That'll help us to go and get some money out of all the usual suspects. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Matt. Martin Cooper. Thanks, yeah. Thanks, Martin.
My name is Martin Cooper. I'm the scout leader for the first Moreton-in-Marsh Scout Group.
My name is James Livingstone. I'm the Explorer Leader, Assistant Scout Leader, and was a Scout Leader before.
So the Scout Group in Moreton consists of 4 sections. We start off with Beavers, we have Cubs, Scouts and Explorers. And we're currently also in the process of setting up the Squirrels section. So, yes, Squirrels runs from 4 to 6. We currently have a squirrel leader identified. We're looking for a squirrel assistant. So if anybody fancies volunteering, please make yourself known. In terms of beavers run from the ages of 6 to 8. And currently we've got 20 beavers in our colony. They meet every Tuesday during term time from sort of 5:30 in the evening to 6:45, and they undertake a whole variety of activities. You may have seen them out wandering around Moreton. One of the activities they did super recently was testing out all the chips from everywhere they could find packaged chips in Moreton. I think the fish and chip shop one and still has their little certificate up behind the wall. But they've also done first aid, night hikes, a whole variety of things.
Yeah, so Cubs is the next age group up from that. They run from 8 to 10 and a half, meet every Monday from 6 to 8 during term time. Numbers average around 15, can go up as high as 20, but average around 15. Don't generally have a waiting list, but people move on to scouts, and we've got the throughput, if you like, coming up from beavers. Activities-wise, then, yep, so they've done litter picks, they've done night hikes, they've done orienteering, they've done various activities in the hut, including their activities badges, all kinds of things that we can come up with, keep them entertained, and the leaders do a great job of putting together a plan for them each week. Yeah.
Yep. So my scout troop, they meet every Thursday evening from 7:30 to 9. That covers 10.5-year-olds to 14-year-olds. And the aim is to help them develop, stretch them, get them to do activities, things that develop them as individuals and give them the confidence to express themselves, try different things. So we've done a variety of things, including camping, which you'd expect, firelighting, cooking. We're quite active in night hiking, so you may see us around, particularly in the winter months, trekking around. Sort of the big district or regional activity for that is the Cotswold Marathon, which we did in February. They did 10 miles and we finished 17th out of 63 teams. So we were very pleased with that. We've also just finished our planning batch, which is currently starting our activities batch. So you can see it's a whole wide variety of things they get involved in.
Absolutely. And then the idea is that Explorers builds on that. So you can see that as you go through the age groups, the activities expand, they become more adventurous is the term. Trying to stop the scouts killing each other and us is probably how I would term it. So as we go to Explorers, the expectation is a little bit more autonomy, but the Explorers are helped through the leaders to plan the activities, organise the activities, decide on their own programme of events, and essentially run it themselves with adult backing. So the Explorer section has just restarted. It was run by a lad called Danny Dell before me, and he merged Shipston and Moreton together to try and get the numbers up and step back because of family ill health. And Martin and I have just tried to get that up and running again. So we have no Explorers currently. We have had a little bit of a next door campaign, a little bit of a Facebook launch coming up. But if you know people sort of the age range 14 and a half upwards, please can you get them in contact with Scouts-Morton at outlook.com, and we will get them to the right place. We haven't yet decided on leaving to meet, because if I've got 10 people who want to meet on a Monday, I'll make it Monday. Simple as really.
So our group activities in the community, where all sort of sections are being involved at the same time, including things like the Remembrance Day Parade, for the King's Coronation, the big sort of help out. We participate in a little bit around Moreton. We're also at the Moreton show, where hopefully you saw us, we've got a big pioneering bridge, put an old-fashioned tent up. And we also hold, on the first Sunday in July every year, the street fair, which raises most of the funds that enable us to keep the Scout Hut running. So thank you to everybody in the community that donates things to us to enable us to run the stalls and sell them off for everybody that comes along and supports us and contributes to that, because it really makes a difference.
Particularly if those people that donate and then come and buy the same stuff back.
And lastly, all of the Scout sections in Moreton are all run by volunteers. We all give up our time. We do enjoy it most of the time. And we're always looking for more volunteers as well as more Cubs and Scouts within the area to help develop. So if you've got some spare time, and it doesn't mean that you have to work with little people if you're not interested in that. If you're good at administration, good at managing things, want to sit on part of our Scout Association Trust Board, we'd be delighted to receive any help and support.
Yeah, and just put it into context, I mean, it's probably just a scratch on the surface when compared to the football club, cricket numbers, etc. There's about 4,000 hours provided for children across the sort of school term, if you like, terms through the year. Because scouting is, generally speaking, scouting is an adventurous activity. We would like to put children in situations where they can learn. We have to manage that, but we need the numbers to do it. You've got to have really high ratios so that you can make sure it works. And Scouting Association is trying to increase its governance, so we need more people for less numbers. So if you can step up and help administratively, don't fancy dealing with the children, that's fine. But if you want to do some work in the background, that would be incredibly helpful. Thank you.
Can you say the email address again, please?
Scouts-Moreton@outlook.com. And it doesn't matter which section you need to speak to, it will get you to the right place, but just use that one for those easiest to speak. Or if you know Teresa, speak to Teresa.
Thanks guys for
Thank
hard
you.
work, and I wish you luck with recruiting some more. Cheers, many thanks. Craig?
Just to follow on from that point, actually, I helped a local business that wasn't aware that it was a new area. Just a quick note on the beaver zones. We've been going for about a year and a half, and we've got 20 beavers, and we've had about 6 left that are gone to clubs or not to the clubs. And one thing that we've noticed during COVID wasn't any socialisation. And when they came, they were full of anxiety, low confidence. And I think over the last year and a half, we've seen such a massive increase in confidence. So if you know any children around between 4 to 8 year olds, because there's a bit of a waiting list, who've got low confidence or any anxieties, feel free to send them our way or try and help as best we can. But I'm really useful about the flooding as well. So you may be aware that there's a national flood forum has been tasked by Gloucestershire County Council to help Moreton and other areas that are high risk of flooding to reduce the flood risk in the area. So we've been meeting since January. We've got a small team going on, so you're more than welcome. I've got about 30 copies of it before it ran out, so I'll put them up as but essentially what we're trying to do is reduce the risk and the exposure that Moreton has to flooding. We live in the town, we're already exposed to flooding in Moreton. We got flooded in 2007, and the water ebbs and flows quite high. So at the moment we're trying to work out where the risks are. So we've met with the multi-agency, so we've got Thames Water, Highways, Gloucestershire Council, Environment Agency, and at the moment we're doing a fact-finding mission. So we're trying to work out, we know we live in a bowl. Most of the water comes in off the Battersea estate, probably about 70-80% of it. Some of it comes down the railway line. So at the moment we're trying to work out where the stress comes. So we've got literally this week, we've got all the pipe network from Thames Water, from Highways. And what we'll do then is we'll overlap that against the flooding risk, and then to see where potentially more maintenance can be done, basically to try and reduce the risk. Natural flood management that we're looking to do, we've got the Battersea estate, hopefully all going well, and the Blenheim estate as well. So we're trying to reduce the speed of the water that comes through Moreton essentially, and then further downstream towards Leamington. So so that's really about it in terms of the general day. There are more smaller actions that we're working on, but I won't bore you to death with them now. So if you've got any interest in it, feel free to come along. We're meeting Wednesday here, hopefully, 6 o'clock. You're more than welcome to join us. As I say, I'll leave these on the desk. But if you've got any questions, drop us a line and see you on Wednesday. Anything else that you raise about flooding?
No, I think that's fine to start with. I think the issue is that it's good that following the MP's meetings we have here on a regular basis, that we ended up pinning GCC down with the local flood authority to actually find the funding to get up an action group, because lots of people talk about it, nothing really happens too much, and it's very important that this action group has actually forced all of the agencies to get together and have conversations, and they did surprisingly all turn up at one of the recent meetings of the action group.
Just one final point on that is they're unaware of a lot of the issues, whether you believe them or not, that's what they're saying. So it's because the reporting isn't being done from Moreton. Compared to other areas where they may have had flooding last year, they don't hear anything from Moreton. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is looking at how we can increase that reporting line to them, and it's literally, it's not you just contact Thames and that's it, you contact all of the agencies and we're working out the best way to do that. Because we're basically told the more noise that we make, the more capital expenditure will be aligned to more. Because if they don't know, they won't think about it. In particular, the Spitfire development, Batsford, Blenheim, anywhere that's within Moreton is at risk. So So we're all trying to work together.
Yeah, it was interesting, the first meet we had, there were quite a number of people that turned up, and it was surprising how many aspects and parts of this town actually got affected one way or another through periods of flood. Whether it was drains overflowing, coming with sewage problems, whether it was just land water runoff from those, there were a whole myriad of things. And the important thing, as Faber said, is that everybody, whenever they see something or suffer this, report it to every one of those agencies, because that is the only way that they will listen. And that is to make sure we have it. So hopefully that will develop through next week.
Yeah, we're just working out how best to do that.
If you keep, as the town council, if you keep making assertions like this about Cotswold District Council, then you create a situation when, if there's a Cotswold District Councillor present, they feel the necessity, I do, to counteract what you say.
Sorry,
It
what
would be much
assertion did
better
I
if you
make?
could just
Angus,
keep it
Angus,
to the
what
parish
assertion did I
meeting.
make? What assertion did I make?
I just want to request that you don't keep doing that.
What
That would be
assertion
my...
did I make?
I
Angus?
don't want to get into it. That's my point. I don't want to get into it.
I'm sorry, but they were talking about the Highways Agency, the Environment Agency, Thames Water. I didn't even hear them talk about the Cotswold District Council.
I may have misheard. I'm sorry, but I thought you were saying that the Cotswold District Council did not know about the problem of flooding.
No, the Environment
Council and the
We're talking about the
Environment
legal authority and the agencies saying that they don't hear people that report. There's
Yeah,
not
so
sufficient-
when you say EA, you're quite right.
But I did not mention the district council.
Then I'm very, very sorry. I heard you say Cotswold District Council, and I'm connected together. I'm really sorry. You did mention it several times before then, and I apologise.
Okay, so as I say, I'll stick these down at Watford door. The more people we get, we started off with probably 10, 15 people on the first night, and it's whittled down to just a small cabal now. So, you know, the more the merrier. Literally, we want to be like what we know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's knowing the extent across the town that's affected.
Yeah.
People that really get bad flooding will shout. We want to know all those that get affected by different ways of the flooding. Some in the centre of town, some that immediately take the water down off Batsford, some that might get it just because there's a low blockage or something. We need to know the whole extent. Yeah, thanks, Greg. Jeff, would you like to speak about the problem
Hey, good evening. My name is Jeff Ben. I'm the Chairman of Trustees at Cotswold Friends. Joe Hammond, our Chief Executive, I think spoke at last year's annual meeting. I'm here to update a little bit on what Cotswold Friends has been up to over the last 12 months. So, as Joe reported last year, we have 4 or 5 services that are all targeted towards alleviating loneliness and isolation in the Cotswolds area. That's centred in Moreton. Our offices are in the Moreton Centre in the middle there, but increasingly we are being asked by other centres in the Cotswolds area, North Cotswolds area in particular, to provide services. The spread of activities out of Moreton goes down to Northleach, and indeed, as far as our transport services are concerned, now down into Cirencester. And as I say, we're being requested almost on a monthly basis now to extend the services that we provide to other parts of the Cotswolds, particularly down to the south, towards Tetbury, towards Stroud, and so on and so forth. That has not happened as yet. What we have done in the last 12 months is return to pre-COVID activity levels. And that sounds a bit sort of kind of dramatic in some regards. It's taken us a long time to get back there, and that's largely because of demand placed upon us and placed upon the services by our customers, by the people who are nonetheless still feeling, in some regards, lonely and isolated as a result of the pandemic that happened. But just service by service, we've now returned to a level as far as our transport journeys are concerned. We provided booked services for just over 14,000 journeys in the last 12 months, the vast majority of which, so 75%, are for hospital type or medical type visits, whether that be a visit to the dentist, visit to a hospital, or just taking people for an outpatient appointment or beyond. We introduced about 2 years ago a membership scheme because the scale of the administrative burden that was being placed on the Transport Office was such that we had to look to employing people alongside the volunteers who actually run that service. So we now have 1,500 members as part of our membership scheme. They pay £18 per year to access the transport services. There is no exclusion put in those put on membership at all. So if you want to become a member and use the services, which are there, as I say, largely in the actuality, are there to provide support to ambulance services and non-emergency patient transport in the area to Cheltenham and Gloucester, to Oxford, to Banbury, to Warwick, and indeed beyond as well. So we go down as far as Bristol, or have done in the last 12 months. So that's a growing service. As I say, we're also operating from Moreton. We're operating a service in Cirencester as well, which is growing. That's about another 3,500 journeys coming out of Cirencester, and the likelihood is that that will grow into other towns and cities around the area, with the exception of Gloucester and Cheltenham, where of course the hospitals are based. So it's not such a great problem getting people from more rural areas to meet their appointments in the morning. So there are alternatives to using Cotswold Friends, the bus services and so on and so forth, but if you have a hospital appointment at 11 o'clock in Gloucester, catching a bus at 5:30 in the morning from outside Co-op isn't really an option for you, and getting a bus home at about 5:30 at night makes it an awful long day if you're not feeling particularly well. So we sit alongside those statutory provided services where we can. We actually advertise them as well as alternatives for people to try and get mobile around the district for those purposes. So the second service that I mentioned just briefly is a befriending services, and this is typically, if I can draw a picture of somebody who accesses, or a client who accesses a befriending service, this is somebody who's either widowed or for whatever reason have given up work and now find themselves isolated from the normal social interactions that they have, and increasingly become inward looking rather than outward looking. We have about 60 clients at any one time being befriended. That typically is taken up with the befriender, i.e. the volunteer that goes to them, going and visiting that befriended person for 2-3 hours a week, perhaps taking them out, going shopping with them, taking them to other local shops or events or whatever. In addition to those, we have about 20 telephone befrienders at any one time, which is a service which is starting to grow. Again, it was very active during the COVID period, but we found it's been quite useful for people, particularly who are coming into the area, who just need some reassurance and comfort that's not available from other statutory services. Third area is around activities, and these are most obvious in Moreton through the Men in Sheds activity that we have down right next door to the Town Council offices, courtesy of the Town Council's electricity. We run a set of power tools in there for anybody over the age of 60 or beyond, which is a bit of a hazard in itself. So we have kind of one-to-one marking of people with a circular saw. It saves one of the plasterers' bill, quite honestly. We have 3 other sheds that are active, one at Chipping Camden, one at North Leach and one at Moreton on the Water. And these are typically for males, although of course we're not allowed to say that, so we do actually have ladies in sheds as well, or women in sheds. The sheds are open to anybody at any time. They're supervised as health and safety specialists into each of those sheds. They manufacture things, sell them at local markets, particularly at Christmas, take orders, but actually it gives them a sense of community and spirit. The most important thing that happens at most Men in Shed activities was when the whistle blows, the cake comes out and the kettle goes on. It gives people the opportunity to sit and talk rather than chop their own fingers off. There are at any one time up to about 14 lunch clubs around the area. There are 2 in Moreton, one at the Garden Centre, now Blue Diamond Garden Centre, and one at the Moreton-in-Marsh. They meet monthly, or sometimes more often. As I say, there's anything up to about 14 at one time. Getting facilities to run a lunch club is becoming increasingly difficult because of the cost of living crises. Providing a 2-course lunch with a cup of coffee in a local pub for £7.50 is not particularly easy, and some landlords, quite rightly, are trying to look after their own business as well. So we're constantly looking to try and evolve the lunch club business, and in fact this year we will launch our first afternoon tea club. So as opposed to serving a 2-course lunch, we'll serve people with a sandwich and a scone or something The idea is to get people together who don't normally get together and talk and chat and so on and so forth. So they're going pretty well. Other activities that we run within the activities programme, we have a choir, which is not going to be cutting any discs soon, but nonetheless they have a whale of a time and entertain us all with our own internal functions. We have art classes, and my absolute favourite is we have Knit and Natter, which is otherwise known as Stitch and Bitch, which is an absolutely fantastic service of ladies that get together on a pretty regular basis, pick the needles and produce all sorts of things, from little caps for newborn babies in hospitals. They seem to provide just about every hospital in this area and beyond with little knitted caps. Then they'll find something particularly that they want to take advantage of. In fact, if you go into the Moreton Centre at certain times of the year and look up, going up the stairs, you'll see some knitted collages which our Knit and Natter group have done. The most important thing that happens in Knit and Natter is the kettle and the cake. My own experience of the last Knit and Natter was we started at 2 with a piece of cake and a cup of tea just to get started with. The needles started clicking at 2:45, 3 o'clock, we're halfway through, we really need a piece of cake and a cup of tea. And then it got to 3:30 and decided it wasn't really worth starting the knitting again, so we'd have another piece of cake and another cup of tea. It was fantastic. I put on 3 stone, but nonetheless the ladies were enjoying it, and indeed I have to say I enjoyed it immensely. Men are also welcome at Knit and Natter. We have a service which we describe as independence service, independent support, which is really, it came out of COVID, and particularly immediately post-COVID, where people have got out of the habit of leaving the house and doing simple things, simple tasks like their shopping or going and picking up their drugs from the local chemists and so on and so forth. So we have 60 odd clients who are still receiving an independent support, which is to get people back into a community and doing the things that they used to do previously. Typically a programme through independence lasts 6 to 8 weeks before they then move on into other services such as the lunch clubs and so on and so forth. Out of that then came a demand slightly later for people who were being admitted to hospital, who needed some support both immediately prior to going to hospital, getting to hospital, and then coming back and going through the immediate post-operative recuperation period. And that's largely because the tendency within the health service has been to discharge people home earlier, so the amount of day surgery going on against the amount of surgery where you stay overnight, 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights in hospitals is increasing. In fact, 70% of all surgery is now done by day surgery. It used to be the case that social services would actually then pick up patients as they came home, but everybody's heard the stories about what's happening with social services, so people are being left and isolated. So our service, again, to support people as they come out of hospitals, proved very popular. Conscious also of other reasons, we have an intergenerational service where we work very closely with 2 secondary schools in the area, Chipping Camden and Thornton, where the Sixth Form College now have an option of joining us as befrienders and as supporters of the charity. And this intergenerational service is becoming increasingly important as we see generations splitting apart, and there's so much to learn for both sides of the equation in that. For the young folk, understanding what their grandparents and indeed great-grandparents' eras went through, whether that be discussions about what they did during the war or during the last depressions or whatever it is, and going through. It is a fact of life that we tend to forget, and just looking around the room without being rude to anybody whatsoever, just as a fact that we're all getting a little bit older, you may or may not know that we are actually further away from the Rolling Stones' first hit than the Rolling Stones when they had their first hit were from the death of Queen Victoria. So time does move on. 63 years incidentally since the Rolling Stones had their first hit, 61 years since Queen Victoria left. So we're getting older, time goes on, things that we grew up with, our children are not experiencing in quite the same way. So getting intergenerational services happening, that's proved very popular. We'd like to extend that further. Clearly we have to be very careful around safeguarding issues with that, but it is a service that we see growing more and more and more. So finally, just as a piece of what is Cotswold Friends, for those of you that don't know, we're a volunteer-led service. What I mean by that is all the services that are provided by people who volunteer their time freely and goodwill, and that may be half an hour, that may be more in any given week. They're supported by a small staff based up at the Moreton Centre. There's actually a head count of 21 people there, but it's a full-time equivalent of about 6.5 people who support all the services right the way across, including the transport desk. So we have close on 400 volunteers now around the patch, and they are providing something in the region of 60,000 hours of service to our community every year, well over 1,000 hours a week, which if you work it out equating against whole-time equivalents, it's equivalent of having a workforce of 35, which I think would make us, after the Fire College, the second largest employer in the area. And that, if you value it at basic rates of pay at the moment, is a worth of well in excess of £600,000 a year of what we would have to pay to get those same levels of service. So the volunteers are absolutely key to what we do here. The charity is managed by a bunch of 7 trustees, of which I chair, and we are all volunteers as well, so we understand what's happening in our business. Every so often we have a little treat for them. Our patron, Lord Dalverton, this afternoon threw open his private gardens, and we had 150 of our volunteers coming for afternoon tea, courtesy of Lord and Lady Dalverton, which was a lovely event, helped by the weather, but helped mostly by the enthusiasm of everybody who was there to be involved in Cotswold Friends, and that's what's important to us. So thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Jack. Before we come to 19th nervous breakdown, whichever one comes after. Just saying about whether we move on from their 19th nervous breakdown with age difference. You see what they think. Sam, do you like to talk about evolution, etc.?
Hi, I'm Sam. Some of you might have seen me on social media making a bit of a nuisance of myself regarding pollution of our rivers and freshwater bodies. It was actually February last year I attended my first meeting to really find out what was going on with our rivers and why they were so polluted. What I discovered horrified me, so then I formed this group for river pollution even load. Moreton-in-Marsh is at the start of the river, and we're still finding really high levels of nutrient pollution, really at the start. So yeah, I've sort of made it my mission. I've given up my job, I've given up my business, and I'm now thankfully employed to do this with part of Even Load Catchment Partnership, who have been so supportive of us and everyone from here down to Oxford. We're looking at, obviously, Thames Water. We're looking and asking some very awkward questions to the Environment Agency. Our other issue locally is sewage treatment works as well. We've got a few of the big tourist attractions around here have got their own permits to treat and discharge their own sewage. Agriculture is obviously up there as well. We've got a big team. Part of the Even Load Catchment Partnership is also looking at natural flood management and natural ways that we can deal and also help farmers. So yeah, it's a really big issue coming from every sort of different direction, but it's something that myself and a fantastic group of 15, 20 locals meet up every month to discuss, to investigate, and just try and ask those awkward questions so that we can get answers to make this community safer. So yeah, if I can just educate and engage with as many people in Moreton as I can, even if it's just something like reporting a tampon that you've seen flowing down the river, like happened last week. I had to push so hard to get someone to come out and investigate. And then as some of you might have seen, it is a simple case of, well, I say simple, 2 houses have been misconnected so that their sewage, they were pouring into the river Even Load for years. The Thames Water didn't want to know because the pipe hadn't been adopted by themselves. So it just really takes motivated individuals to try and find the solutions to these problems so that our dogs don't get sick, so that our children can play safely in the stream in the summer. So it's something that I'm working hard on. If you want to join me, we have kits that you can go out and test for nutrient pollutions with nitrates, phosphates, turbidity. Also just general observations really helpful as well as, have you seen wet wipes? Have you seen a dead fish? All the positives as well, we'd really like to know actually. Have you seen, we found water voles on the Even Load 2 weeks ago. Amazing. We were so excited. But yeah, if you want to find out more, come and talk to me. I'm going to pop up a poster as well with my email address on it. But also we've got an event in Broadwell happening on the 13th of June at 7 o'clock, where myself and part of the ECP team are going to be discussing all things river. So yeah, no, please help. Again, it's as with the flooding, the more noise we make, the more help we're going to get and the more chance we're going to have for change, especially when it comes to Thames water, overcapacity of our sewage treatment works and the shit that they're pouring into our river.
Sam, can I just ask you?
Yes.
Have you tried to get in touch with Steve Backshaw? Because I know that.
I'm on Instagram friends with him. We are discussing things.
Because I know he's been on television and he's done it.
Again,
because it's all about joining up, it's all about linking up.
it is, yeah.
That then gives you the power.
So I am, although I'm Revolution Evenload, I'm now part of Earthwatch Europe, who's part of the Evenload Catchment Partnership, which is of about 25 independent organisations which have all come together under one umbrella to help sort these issues out. I'm also working very close with River Action UK, the Rivers Trust. We've been talking to Steve Batchall and a couple of other celebrities as well. So there's definitely teamwork happening within this. Yes,
Okay.
any other issues, let me know.
Yes. Hi, my name is Nick Bates. I'm the chairman of the Retail Hall Trust. It's really good to see you all here, fulfilling the purpose of this building, one of its purposes. I'm going to keep this short because we're going to have our own meeting to tell you more about the future of our future plans for the building on the 12th of June. But there's two important pieces of news to tell you. Firstly, we've finally unravelled 42 years of legal confusion over the ownership of the hall. And now the hall is owned by the Retail Hall Trust, which is a charitable incorporated organisation, as of the 1st of May this year. The second really important piece of news is on the 27th, week starting the 27th, I know the 27th is bank holiday, so the 28th, we've got a team of people coming and they're going to do some removal work on the tiles on the roof to try and fix everything to make it as solid as possible. The following week, on the 3rd of June, we have a team of netters. I think Trevor, actually, this was a suggestion you made way back in November. We took that suggestion, we looked into it. It's not chicken wire, it's a little bit more substantial. They're applying it, they'll apply it from the scaffold from the east, and then they'll abseil and apply it from ropes on the west. Once that's done, the big news is the scaffold should come down the week of the 10th of June. So hopefully by the 14th of June, the scaffold will be no more. Good news. If for any reason it doesn't happen, please don't shoot me, but we are really, really trying hard to get it done for the 14th of June. At the meeting on the 12th, we've been working really hard on putting together a team, getting all the knowledge needed to start restoration of the clock tower. We think we've got the funding, or we hope we've got the funding in place to do that. And in the meeting on the 12th of June, I can show you pictures, I can talk the pants off you about how boring it is, but to get that done, and hopefully that will happen. We're planning for the end of September. We had been more aggressive. We were going for June, but there's certain things that you probably wouldn't have been happy with had that been the case. So we decided to push it back for reasons that will become apparent on the 12th of June. We have a midweek movie this week, so come along to that if you like to see the Miracle Club. We have a comedy night on Friday. There's a quiz night later in June, and we're working, because we thought we were possibly doing some building work in June, but we haven't quite got our schedule of events sorted out, but we're working hard on that. We'll have a full programme of events for the sort of latter half of the year. So please come 12th of June, and we'll tell you more.
Can I just, sorry, just one comment. Nick, I don't want to put a downer on what you've said, but you've mentioned a number of things there. You know, you've resolved many years of legal wrangling, a new trust has been created, the clock tower. You know, a lot of these things have come at significant public expense. Lots of public money is being handed over to the charity that runs this building. Tomorrow at the town council meeting, there is an item to note in the agenda that sets out that the Town Council have recently handed over £88,000 from public funds to the Redesdale Hall. So, you know, it's good to hear that progress is being made, but I think the missing part is at what point will the Redesdale Hall Trust or the Town Council tell the public how much money has been committed to this building on their behalf, a single complete figure, because it is a very large number.
Well, I mean, if there's a question that specifically wanted to be asked of the County Council or the Hall, we're obviously able to do that. You're very much aware yourself that as part of the council at the time that actually agreed to make payments of a certain level on the balance of its history of there being a substantial amount of money that the council, well even before I joined, where it was held for the purpose of supporting the hall and in fact for the detail of actually trying to deal with the roof. So I don't think much of that is not in the public domain, but if there was a specific question to ask that question, you're quite able to ask that question and get that responded to. Yeah?
How?
Well, you can actually, today, you can actually agree a question to be asked of the council and you can vote on it and you can have that question put in. Or you can actually directly ask the clerk for information, and if she is able to find that information within a reasonable time, she would be able to do that. Can I move to ask if there's, first of all, the residents who want to highlight any other volunteer work or group as a starting point before we go into a general discussion on any other points? Is there anyone else who would like to? So we've got two people. Dan, do you want to start?
Sorry, yeah, me again.
Possibly so.
So, just a brief update. So, on the campaign against overdevelopment, sorry, Angus, CDC are going to get mentioned a few times in this one. So, as many of you may know, a petition began some months ago against CDC's plans for massive overdevelopment of our town. That has around 1,800 signatures. A small group of volunteers delivered lots of comments forms all across Moreton. So we covered around 1,200 houses. From what I've heard, CDC have got lots of paper comments forms and they're very busy typing that all into the website. Myself and Matt Beresford also published a wonderful video that you may have seen that help people to make comments. We had some news articles that were published in Cotswold Journal and also local BBC. I'm just conscious that since that first consultation ended, we've perhaps been a bit quiet. So myself, along with Sue Stapley, Bob Eastoe, who's not here but he has prior commitments, Matt Beresford, Neil Wackworth, and we're also in regular contact with Councillor Darryl Core, who's the member for Moreton West. He's been very public about the fact that he opposes the plans and he very much supports our aims. The point of what I'm saying is that there are more stages to this so-called consultation coming and we will be ready for that. A group of us have been meeting fairly regularly. We have lots and lots of plans. I don't want to share too much on that just yet, but we do need volunteers. You know, the fight is just starting. It's going to be a long, long road. So if you are interested in getting involved, please approach me or one of the other members of the campaign team here, because we are looking to get details of people, names and numbers. If anybody would help us, there's going to be lots of leaflets to deliver and all sorts of other things. You may have also seen us on the various social media channels for Moreton, so you can always contact us through that. But again, if you are interested, please let us know, because we definitely do need volunteers and lots of help as things get going. So thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
I'll be very quick. I'm from Moreton-in-Marsh Croquet Club. We're a very new club. This year we've at last managed to get our clubhouse. We developed the club during the pandemic, which was not the best time, but with a lot of help from our local council. we managed to get some land set aside to retain some green area in Moreton-in-Marsh, which is very unusual. This year, or last year, our B team, High Handicap, came second within the South West Federation, which is from Cornwall up to the Welsh borders, which was excellent considering that was our first year we had entered. Last year we had a little group of beavers who came along and had a wonderful time, and so did we. This year we had the brownies, a group of Moreton-in-Marsh 20 brownies came along, and we had a great evening with them, although a little bit damp and wet. We did have the clubhouse to have a bit of shelter in if needed. Unfortunately, we don't have any water yet. We're waiting for Thames Water to connect us, but we've been waiting for that for 9 months, so we're not holding our breath on that one. This year we hope to invite the Cotswold Friends Friendship Group to come along for a morning at croquet and coffee and tea, if we can provide it, should we have water.
We'll bring the cake. We'll bring the cake.
You'll bring the cake, oh
We always
good.
do.
Right, okay, you're on there. We would like to invite our local scouting groups, if they would like to come along. Last year we had 54 members, and this year I think we're approaching 68 so far, so we're doing well. Now we've got our clubhouse and our members kitted it all out, fitting the insulation and boarding, etc., and painting it. Our lawns now need our attention. We would like to get up to the Cheltenham standard, so there's a bit of competition between them and Moreton-in-Marsh. We're now offering extended sessions this year, so we're open Wednesday and Friday evenings and Sunday afternoons. So hopefully those people that are working can come and join a lovely evening down at Open Space by the Bowls Club. That's about it. We'd like to thank the Men in Sheds for painting our posts and making our posts, etc. Great links with them. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. I'll leave it open to the floor for people to wish to start to discussion on any point in particular. Angus.
Well, I was going to give a report.
Oh, fine. Okay, thanks.
Can I just... Yeah. I am so impressed by the things that go on. It's just amazing. I feel like a little minnow. The thing I'm reporting on is the Moreton Photography Club. We started just before the COVID lockdown. We're still going. We're a small little group. Last meeting we had mindfulness photography, which was about being mindful of the world around you, observing what you don't normally observe, finding what your interest was, and exploring it and looking more closely and more closely and more closely, and we had a fantastic time. What we're doing this year is creating panels. So the idea is that each member will create a panel of 12 photographs that would be on a theme. And so they are in this next meeting, which is next Monday. We meet on the 4th Monday evening of each month, 7:30 p.m. at St David's Centre. Anyone is welcome. We have a membership, but you can come along and find out whether you're interested. We are going to be creating a panel in which there will be a collection of 12 photographs that belong together, that express your own interest in the world, and by the process of doing that you learn how to do photography better. Given that there's been some comments about, I could just wave my Cotswold Councillor hat on for a second, but without putting it on, I am going to be reporting to the Town Council the next step in the process in the council meeting tomorrow evening, so I'll leave it till that. But we are looking for some people who live in the town who can represent different aspects of what goes on in the town, the different perspectives of what lives in the town, the needs of the town, and the hopes of the town for an event that we will be organising. You can email me if you think you could be such a person.
Thanks, Angus. Right, open floor. Anyone who'd like to take a start? Any particular issues? Sam?
20 mile an hour zone, especially on the London road going past the school. I know that the speed team has been there. Has been any reports as to actually what the average speeds you're finding are on that? And have we got any closer to actually being able to reinforce that, or maybe make the signage better? Because I mean, I walk that nearly on a daily basis, and especially with the overgrowth, and I'm not pushing a pram. It's terrifying when an Arctic lorry comes past you at 40 mile an hour.
I don't think we've got anyone from Speedwatch this evening.
Yes, you have. I have.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I should have just mentioned Speedwatch if there was nobody else here. Speedwatch is, well, you know what it is, and it does a really nice job. I go out regularly each month with the others. You're right. I mean, you get some crazy speeds up there. So 20 mile an hour speed limit, we've had clocked people over 40. It's just ridiculous. So it is dangerous. What the process that happens is it goes to the police. The police send a letter to everybody who is a bit above it, and anybody who's more than a bit above it gets a knock on the door from a police representative to go talk to them about what's going on. And we could do with more volunteers. Thanks. Kevin Johnson is the person to contact. He's on next door.
Okay, anyone want to come back on that door? No? Anyone else wish to say anything else?
I'll just say on that point, that the signage coming into Moreton on the Forceway by the garden centre, it's supposed to look like 30 miles an hour, but in actual fact it's so faded, it could be any number whatsoever.
Yeah, I would certainly suggest you report that to the highways people on the GCC website. As indeed, as I said before, anything that is noticeable, there are communication points where you can contact them.
Okay.
And in fact,
Use Fix My Street.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah.
Online. Fix My Street.
All right, okay.
All
Just
one
what I
word.
was
Fix
trying
My
to
Street.
remember. Just what I was trying to remember. Fix My Street covers a whole multitude of things. Any issues with the highways and villages, I would go directly to those. And if you do report that to the important thing.
Covers district and county.
Mark, would you like to say anything from council?
Evening, everybody. As we're on the topic of traffic, we're all sick to death with what's going on down there with the traffic lights and so on. I did get on Wednesday an agreement that the traffic lights would be removed at the weekends. Well, that didn't work, did it? But we have got a bank holiday weekend coming up, and I'm going to get on to them tomorrow, and I shall speak with Spitfire. I mean, up to now I've been dealing with the highways officer who plans all these traffic light systems when big developments are going on. But I'll speak to Speedway with Spitfire tomorrow, and I hope to God it will be dealt with on Friday afternoon, and they'll move the fencing over to their boundary, and the road will be safe and free. But don't shoot the messenger just in case it doesn't work. But I will do my best.
Mark, on that front, just before you go on that front, you know that we were shown recently the plans for the highway at the junction with Spitfire, what was planned. And you know that we highlighted with you the concern of the 30-metre gap between the coming out and going into the hospital area. The concern, of course, was those people trying to turn right going into town. Has anyone actually highlighted that concern with them further? You know?
Have you seen the drawings which I forwarded to you?
Yeah, I saw the drawings.
Those are the technical ones, and I have to say that I've been in property all my life. I found them very difficult to understand.
Yes, they are somewhat confusing.
The island has gone, so that's one point which I remember you raised at the meeting that we had. I haven't personally raised the question with them because it's been, to be honest, been signed off by the technical highway people who understand these things. I can't believe that with the proposals they've got, that they've only looked at the right-hand turn into the development. They've got to be looking at the entrance and exit.
Yeah, and as you know, I voiced my concern of the people coming out wanting to turn right to go towards town,
Yeah.
where there is no ability. You've got to wait for, in effect, now 3 lanes of traffic because they're going to put an additional turn right route in. Got to have people.
I think part of it will come down to how they do the white lines, because they can create zones in that way. But a valid point. I can ask the question specifically.
Although I know the proof of the pudding will be once it's done.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd just like to talk about the town council again, and how it communicates with the public and general transparency. So very interested in any views from others, including the councillors who are present. Unfortunately, I have to point out that at a recent public council meeting, the public were told that the town council is not obliged to answer public questions, even though there is a public participation section in that meeting. I hope that the town council realised that was probably an unwise statement to make. I also think that the town council have attempted to discourage people from asking questions at this meeting, because the agenda that was published says that this meeting can't be an opportunity to ask questions of the council. That is not the point of this meeting at all. This meeting is about us as residents being able to ask anything that we like. I think that the town council needs to be more transparent and much more accessible. And what I'd like to see is the council providing a forum whereby us as residents are able to attend and ask open questions of the council and councillors and receive answers. Because I don't believe that we have a forum like that at the moment, and that there are too many examples of a lack of public engagement. Malcolm, you mentioned kindly just now that we're able to take a vote on issues at the meeting. But before I suggest any sort of vote, I'm just interested in views of people who are here. Do you think that the council should be giving us a forum where we can ask questions and get answers to those questions in public?
Can I suggest, Darren? I mean, I've thought before, I know it might seem either daft or a vague thing to do. Would you think that people in town would like to see some form of surgeries where town councils come with an attempt to explain where best as possible what is happening to assist with that communication?
Yeah, I think what we need is what you've described. So where there are big projects underway, there's a distinct lack of information that comes out, and you look at things like the transport hub. I'm not aware that anything has been published about that in recent times. Status, timelines, funding, that whole thing. And I think, that, I don't know if you see some of the stuff that's on social media. I know some people might discount that, but there are lots of people that want answers to a lot of questions, and I don't think we've got forward to get.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, the difficulty that some of us have, and I think we do understand this within the parish council scenario, that like the intention of trying to say that it's not that you can't ask questions, but I'm not here and I can't actually reflect and make a decision to tell you what the council thinks, because I cannot actually perform as the council here. I can give you my opinion, a complete personal opinion, and as I said before, I think for some time I thought it might be worth attempting to do some form of surgery, and it's one of the things I think that would come up for discussion within the communications working group that we're hoping to try and set up, which would be great. But I think that sometimes there are things that are put out on the internet from the town council following decisions where I think people have missed them, don't see them. We have had lots of open public meetings here, certainly about the transport hub, about the Reedstale Hall and things for some while. So I think it's just trying to, how do we break this concern, thinking that the feeling that there is no transparency is given an impression that there is an attempt to try and hide something, and that isn't the case at all. And I certainly wouldn't want that to happen. There isn't anything that we're doing that should be untoward whatsoever. So I don't think that anyone is on purpose attempting to pull the wool over anyone's eyes, trying to hide it.
Lies.
And apart from people that seem to have their own agendas, then I don't think that is an issue.
But you can see how it looks that way, can't you?
I think sometimes it looks that way because people concentrate on certain things that they have not seen or feel that they're not being told or have a complete disagreement. And there may be some people who don't understand the issue of having a collective responsibility when the council takes a decision on something with regard to putting that out to everyone. But as far as the large things like transfer, there are some aspects, as you know, that there are things that you don't discuss from a business aspect. Certain things, certainly with the transfer, that the council must do very carefully, being on the basis of being with a partner. It's not the council on their own with regard to the land side, for example. But I would be more to work into wherever possible to alleviate all the noise that seems to come from extraneous things about this feeling that there's a lack of transparency. And I would certainly try and do anything we can to try and get rid of that.
So can somebody tell us, on the council, even more about this communications working group?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah,
I can do that. That's the person attempting to do that.
yeah. So this was Darren. You and I have spoken about this before as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it was certainly something that I thought we could improve upon as a council, and been, you know, very supported by all the rest of the councillors when I put a proposal to begin a temporary, initially, communications working group. That group is just 3 councillors and 1 member of the public, Neil. So we are meeting this Wednesday to thrash out our terms of reference, so what our remit is, what we're kind of there for. We will be putting some ideas down, and we'll go back to the council, get those terms of reference approved, and then we'll get started on some things. That will include a number of areas. How do we make things very, very easy and clear for people to understand on things like social media? So what council does what, how we spend people's money, how we get the money from the town. All of that stuff is available already. It just takes quite a lot of searching on the council's website to find it. I think it's a very good idea to have a look at surgeries or open forum, maybe once a quarter. I think Malcolm's pretty supportive of that too. Obviously, a lot of people are not on social media. You know, lots of us are kind of on Nextdoor and Facebook, but it's probably actually only about 80 or 90 people who are very active, and this is a town of over 5,000. So how do we make sure that everyone who doesn't want to, you know, waste their time like me on Nextdoor or Facebook can actually know what we're up to? And even just hearing tonight all the local groups and the brilliant things that they do, it seems to me that the council should be a very good place to coordinate and make sure everyone's aware.
Please don't bring the council anywhere near Cotswold Friends.
Apart from Cotswold Friends.
For any reason whatsoever,
for their
do
cake.
not bring us anywhere near the council. Thank you.
All right, so that's a very clear perspective. So that's what we're doing. It's very early days. You know, so anyone who's got any opinions on what kind of communication they'd like to see, what I think would work, my email address is on the website. Do let me know.
Yeah, speak not as a Cotswold Friends trustee or anything to do with Cotswold Friends, but as a resident of this town now, I think for 12 years full-time, and I think 30 years part-time as well. So you have to start off, Malcolm, whether you like it or not, and for all the work that you and others around you on the council are doing, is the fact that the town council in this town is completely mistrusted. You have to accept that that is a fact, with a large proportion of the population around here. You have another large population who are never going to engage with you for any reason whatsoever. But you have to do something about your own persona within the town as a council, because you are in complete and utter disarray as far as the majority of people discussing matters in local coffee shops, in the street, in local neighbourhood clubs or whatever, because of what is perceived, correctly or wrongly, as an inability to communicate about things that people care about. The numbers of in-camera meetings that the current council and the previous council have had compared to the previous 5 years is just unholy in terms of numbers. That will breed secrecy unless you have a true commitment to consult and to talk with people, not at set pieces, but by answering questions at an opportunity, as Darren has said, that you have at a council meeting. You are not obliged to answer questions that are raised at that council meeting, but every time you as a council refuse to do so, the feeling of distrust of the town council grows. And until such time as a town council you recognise that your reputation is in the gutter, you're never going to see any moves forward, in my view.
Thanks, Roger.
Well said.
I think the extent of the opinion of that may not be as wide as you think, but...
Sorry, it is what it is.
But I understand the sentiments, and I will certainly take them on board. Let me just go through the list of people that have put their names up. Jeff, Mark, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. Listening to what's been going on, it occurs to me just to relate what happens in other councils. I'm talking particularly district and, in my case, county council level. On Wednesday, we have full council. Item sort of 2 or 3 on the agenda will be public questions. Public questions are sent in to the council, to the clerk, or the officer, depending on which organisation you're dealing with, a number of days before, probably minimum of about 4 days before. The papers will be published with a written answer to that question. It is fairly normal that if the questioner is not satisfied with the answer, they are allowed to ask in person at the meeting a supplementary, which should be a brief, ready clarification of what's been said. Likewise, that happens with councillors as well. And there's a given time period for that section. So if it's public questions, there may be 20 minutes or so is really for supplementary questions to come through. If, because of the time limit, you don't get your answer, or you don't get the chance to put your supplementary, it will be rolled through to the following council meeting and go up to the top of the list. So just an idea to think about. It may well dispel a lot of these concerns which are being expressed. And you give a straightforward question, a very straightforward answer, and if you're not happy, you can ask for supplementary, and you can keep on asking on subsequent occasions. Anyway,
And I think that's indeed something
similar in district.
Can I just say that you had a classic example of what I've said and why that may resolve it this evening. Darren, I think, it may have been somebody else, asked a simple question about how much has been spent on the resale hall by the council. Now, Jean Blackbeard, who I think is here, has published a figure which has not been denied by anybody. May be right, may be wrong. I'm inclined to believe, knowing a little bit about the lady, that actually the figure is probably there or thereabouts. Why can you not say it is X or Y? Because those that listen to the question being asked perfectly normally are going away saying they either don't know, and you're bloody idiots, think that's unlikely, or you're not prepared to say. And the not prepared to say then lets the fantasy dream off. And that's what I'm talking about. You need to improve your own publicity.
I can't sit here and give the answer to Darren. I can't tell you, because I can't off the top of my head, with all the details of the stuff, give you a figure.
I can give the public a figure.
What would you expect? Why not? You're the chairman of the council.
Am I supposed to know everything?
Yes. You are the leader of our representatives to a very sensible, simple conversation that has been on social media running around as a story for the last God knows how long, and you're telling me you don't know. We've got a problem.
Right, I am not a leader. I am not a leader of the council, and I will go back to the order of the meeting. seconds.
Malcolm,
Next.
may I add?
Yeah, you
Sorry.
are next in
Thank
5
you.
seconds. Next one.
Now or
Yeah.
after?
No.
I agree, in the age of social media, perception becomes reality very quickly. And there are a range of platforms that people are using. Some people are on Nextdoor, some people are on Facebook. The narrative is not the same across all platforms, so depending on where you go, you might hear one thing in one place and you might hear a different thing elsewhere. I think it's an excellent idea to introduce some informal clinics or surgeries outside of the formal governance of the council, so that people can come and they can have a more a discussion which is not time bound by 3 minutes, and you can give regular updates on the thing. So that would be my feedback. I think it's a really, really good idea, and it is long overdue that is being put in place.
And I can say now I'm not in principle against that whatsoever. Teresa?
I respectfully disagree with Mr. Benn. It isn't just this council. And I will say, usually I am a resident, so I'm talking as a resident. I will now talk as working for the council. I worked for the council for 12 years. This town has never been happy with the town council. There's always been complaints. Whichever council, I've been here since 2012, and I will say that in Mr. Benn was a councillor, there was disagreements and arguments with the public with that council. So it isn't just this council. So I'm not quite sure where we're getting heads up with now. It's been going on 12 years. It was going on way before. I've been a resident for this 3 years. It's not just this council.
Can I say, yes, I do agree with Teresa. I was an ex-councillor for 6 years. We did do workshops for people to come and listen to what we had on a Saturday morning at different times. And really, people didn't bother turning up. The councillors did, but the people didn't. Yet they complained about the transparency. We'd done a quarterly newsletter, and that seemed to go down well. Somebody wants to take that on board. That went down very well. But it was the councillors that had to traipse all around Moreton and post again. And can I just remind everybody, bitching about everything, the council are volunteers, and if you've ever been a councillor, it's a hell of a lot of hard work. It really, really is. And you get no thanks for it, you just get moaned and complained about. And I know Jeff's been a councillor, there's lots of councillors in this room, and they will know it is a thankless task. And you're always, not personally hated by the public, but whatever, and it's very difficult to keep all the transparency that you want or your public want because of commercial things that can't be said. And I'm a big, believer in transparency, so yes, but I will support members of the council of it, not because I'm an ex-councillor, but because I know what it's been like. And so you want to try being a councillor if you're going to keep bitching about it, really.
Well, I complain, and I'm a councillor.
Yeah, I know.
Darren, would you like an answer for the amount that's been spent?
Teresa? Go on.
I'm just...
Oh, so, okay. As well, on a personal, this is a resident, I've gone through figures. So, yeah, they could be right. So, you're saying 430,000, I think, on the post.
Could you be a bit louder? I'm sorry, we really can't hear you then.
Yeah, so 430, it's just a figure. It could be, right, 100,000 is union money. So that is from the developer from development in the town. So it's not council money, it actually is for the town.
Lies.
Can't be calling it lies.
It's not useful language.
No, it's not. It's not.
useful language.
It's not truth, though. It's not truth.
You'll have time to speak after I've finished. So, developer money, is that a lie?
It's money allocated for the town.
Yes, and it's developer
So it's the
money,
town's
not
money.
council money.
Well, it is council money now because the council actually requested it from the government.
Yes, but if it hadn't been for this council, that money, if they hadn't requested it, would have gone back to the developer. This council asked for that money.
That's
no
part-
resident asked for the money. Nobody else asked for this money. It would have gone back to the developer.
That's part of the process, though.
Nobody needed to apply for it. Did you apply for it? No.
No, because it was done before my time. It was done before my time. You asked me a question.
Finish. So 100,000 when you chose so much money, it wasn't preset money. 40,000 was from the insurance company, it's not council money. It's got to go to the resale board. So effectively, you're talking about 290,000. 250 was reserved in the council funds, wasn't preset money. It's been there pre me coming into the council. It's been there for 20, 30 years. So effectively, you're talking about 40,000 coming from general funds. And to be fair, to get the scaffolding down, I'd give them 430,000. Because personally, I'd rather spend it on the resale board than the transport hub. Because you can see the town hall from everywhere in the town. Transport hub is away from the town. As a resident, lived here for 33 years, as I mentioned, I can park. It doesn't bother me about the parking. I know that might be controversial, but I don't care about the car park. I want to see the scaffolding down and the hall back the way it was. Because we are a tourist town, and I just want to see the scaffolding down now. And if it means giving them the money, I would give them the money, and I'm a resident, and I can't be the only resident out of 5,000 people that thinks that. I can't be the only resident that thinks that, and I know I'm not.
Can I speak to Rita to finish? I think this is part of the issue, is that however you slice it, okay, it's a lot of money involved. The council budget is in one year around 300,000. So you're talking about, relative to the budget, proportionally a very large amount of money. And, you know, maybe I'm crazy, but I just think, you know, I'm not aware that at any point the council has gone to the public and said, we are thinking of spending this much money on one thing. What do you think? Because as you pointed out, Teresa, you might not want lots of money spent on the transport hub, you might want to spend on other stuff. And I don't believe that the council have carried out any sort of consultation with the public that gives them the permission to spend what is proportionally a very large amount of public money.
I have to disagree there.
Whether it's come from the precept or not.
I have to disagree there because the transport...
Don't interrupt me, we're not interrupting, remember. Whether it's come from the precept or not, it is public money.
I have to disagree there because the transport hub, a survey went out, and how many people replied from 5,000?
700. No, 700 odd.
He just said anything, Chaz, so I'm just saying.
Well, that doesn't mean that because not many people respond, you just give up and make decisions without even asking, does it?
But they did
That's
consultations, and it carried on consultations, but there's not always the public engagement, so you can't blame it totally on the council.
Before I say anything on tomorrow, did you want to say?
I just want to make an observation, really, which is that Matt has been appointed to look at communications, and I'm going to help him and support him. The purpose of good communications is to avoid exactly the situation that we are sitting in this evening. This is all about a confused picture, a partial picture, a non-existent picture. The right answer, by the way, to Darren's question, Malcolm, when he said, how much did it cost, is not to either ignore it or to say, I don't know. The right answer is to say, I don't know right now, but I promise you I will find out and I will let you know tomorrow. And that way people will begin to trust and say, actually, he said he'd find out and let me know, and he did, and I got it. And the answer to my question is clear. That's about communication, and that's what we all need to be doing, which is transparency, openness, truthfulness, and that will build integrity.
And I think you're quite right, Neil, although I don't think I'll probably end up doing it tomorrow.
No, but can I just add, it does need to be in a timely manner, even if it's not tomorrow. Because when I came to a town council meeting and asked a question, I got an answer 6 months later, at which time I'd forgotten I'd even asked the question.
Well, I'm happy to provide you with a breakdown of all the costings because I looked through the last 4 years. I looked through every invoice, and so I can provide. I will email you a copy of all the breakdown of all the costings.
We did that, Jean.
I will do. And I'll do that by tomorrow.
What I actually will do though is I will say that I will give you an honest answer, that I will do my best to try and assist a sensible working group to work out the communications, because you cannot possibly think that I enjoy being sat here while you're thinking, while this type of conversation goes on. It's not true. I said something which to me are heartfelt, that this is a great community and we all need to work together to actually make it a good place. The council has been trying to drive on through some really big picture views over the last few years. We've actually been punching above our weight as a parish council to deal and work with other colleagues, other authorities to try and get the big picture sorted out for this town. When I first came here, everyone said, oh, it's a parking problem, it's like the biggest car park in the county, blah, blah, blah. There's a congestion issue. There's a nature of the way everybody works, the way it all moves. We have consultants to look at this. We've been discussing these with GCC. We will get there with that big picture to improve it. People can't walk down this pavement safely because of the manner in which things are done. GCC people have had consultants come and talk to us. They can see that issue. They want to work with us to do that because in the past they've made attempts to do things for the town, got their fingers burnt because it needs to work with the town. The members have agreed and understand that that's the way it should work. We've had those communications. It's not about trying to do things underhand, it's trying to get the big picture sorted out. And I personally want everybody to understand what we are trying to do, and hopefully I try to put that, and this is the first time I've chaired a parish meeting doing this, I tried to mention those points in that welcome thing, to point out that we are trying to get there with all the right reasons. If you have those queries, if you write to the council, you will get a response. I always feel that it's a good idea to think of having things like surgeries, but we're not like the large authorities. We don't have people with expenses. We don't have people that are portfolio holders or leaders in particular areas. My job is only to facilitate meetings. As a chairman, I'm not a leader, I'm not a spokesperson per se. All I can say is that I genuinely want to see what's best for this town. And that means everybody working together without the backbiting and the problems and trying to... And if it comes down to communication as the major issue, then let's find the way to communicate better to get that across. And I'm more than happy to do that. And when it comes down to the details of where the money comes from and where it's going to, I'm more than happy for us to go into the minutiae where that happens. But on the democratic side, the one thing you cannot say is that we are not able to take those decisions down, because we are the town council, that are there the legal representative body to take those decisions with the remits that we have. And there needs to be a collective responsibility. If certain members are unhappy, and I've had suggestions when I've wanted to do things, the councillors go against me, and so it doesn't happen. Do I stop talking to people? Do I start putting everything start backbiting on social media for this? No. You have to live with that issue because it's a consensus. And at the end of the day, I'm still part, whether I abstain, whether I object, I am still a member of the council that have taken those decisions, and you should act accordingly. It's as simple as that. But I am certainly happy to look forward to improve that communication as best as we possibly can. Right, we just try and put them in the right order. Sue?
Yes, sorry. I think the other issue though is not just communication. I think it's the fact that you work in a silo. So you don't encourage participation. You know, for example, with regards to the High Street redevelopment, I've seen no engagement with anybody on the High Street when you're trying to formulate your plans. You know, why have you or your consultants not engaged with the people who actually live and work on the High Street to see what the main issues are, so that forms a part of the revamp of the High Street?
And you're feeling that we don't understand what any of the problems are then?
I don't think you do. You cannot understand them. I live on the High Street. I've been there 24/7 for 16 years. I've seen trend through the years on the parking issues. I can tell you at the moment that since COVID, the parking problem is much less than it was pre-COVID. You know, nobody's come to ask us what we, as people who live their daily experience with regard to all the various issues.
And did you view the suggested progression of ideas when we had the public open day about what's happening?
No, there was one day, I think you've mentioned sessions, but as far as I'm concerned, there was one day, it was in January last year.
Did you go to that?
I didn't, because it was advertised on the Monday, Malcolm, it was advertised on the Monday, and it took place on the Saturday, and I had already booked a holiday away, so I couldn't attend. So therefore, I couldn't go.
Have you looked at the things that are on the website of the council of agreed?
Yes, I have. But all I'm saying is you do not encourage, advertising at some meeting 5 days before it's about to take place by posting on the website once. It's not encouraging people to attend and get involved. Because people don't know about these things in time. They can't get there because it's only on one day. If you happen to be on holiday that day, you can't attend. You've got to be more encouraging of the public to get involved in the project.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
You're obviously aware that I was a councillor and I was vehemently against the money towards the resale or the amount of money, not necessarily the support. And I actually resigned at that meeting, not because of the decision and not because of the collective responsibility, but in the way the decision was taken. Because at the previous meeting, it was actually agreed by all councillors at that meeting to have a meeting outside of a council meeting so that we could all understand exactly what the actual finances and the implications would be. That meeting did not take place, and yet we took a decision, or should I say, some took a decision, that was not understood. And in actual fact, one of the councillors at that time said that the meeting that I suggested was the most, how did he actually word it? He said it was the most important thing that we could have done. And yet we didn't do it, and the decision was taken. And at that meeting, you actually put forward the expectation or a request to suspend standing orders so that the vote could take place. I do not believe that a council should actually force through votes for the sake of forcing through votes. That discussion should have taken place. We should have all understood exactly what that meant, and then take the vote. We didn't do that, and that's why I resigned.
Okay, but you accept that it was still operated legally and properly?
I can't say that it wasn't, but what I am saying is that the decision was not the right way to do it.
Okay. Sorry, was there a question? Jean?
So as representatives, councillors that is, or any representative of the public, are the representatives not meant to consult the public in order to represent the public view before making a decision? A major decision.
There's nothing stopping you asking the public what they feel? As an individual, you can.
No, I'm asking you as council, not me individually, as a council corporately, when we're making a decision, a major decision like the £421,000 that have been spent.
The council that every time they come to have to make a decision, they should be asking every individual.
Major decisions like spending public money on a third-party charity trust.
Decisions by asking mass population to get an end.
Why not? You asked the public about the transport hub and the loan.
We had to do that because legally that was the way to secure the money for the public work loan board.
And I ask you the question again, as public representatives, are we not meant to consult the public first before we make a decision on the public interest? Yes or no?
Yes, the major decisions, like Sue was talking about with the transport hub and things and the movement in the town, I said in the welcome, there will be consultations. No final decisions can be made on that and won't be made unless we have the support of the council, of the people in the town.
Are you referring to the transport hub?
The transport hub. The movement.
I'm referring to the Reedsdale Hall.
And you have a thing about the fact that we've been supporting the Reedsdale Hall, which for 40 years all of the previous councils felt they were legally obliged to undertake.
Felt
And
they were
therefore,
legally obliged.
The majority of the councils at the time in making payments and operating the funds, for example, what ended up with the 88, was entirely based on the moral view of the fact that that's what it had been kept for, and therefore it ought to go to the place where it was purposed. And that's what's
If that's the case,
people voted to do that. The council took a decision legally and fairly to do that, and therefore that was done.
if that's the case, that was meant to be £250,000. The council since April 2021, and we have to act as a council now as well. We have to take decisions in the present. It has been almost just under £421,000 spent, and yet the roof still hasn't been repaired.
May I ask a question? Has that amount of money been transferred and spent?
No.
Apart from the endowment, no, not the endowment, apart from the unilateral undertaking, which has been, what's the word?
So is there £400,000 in the Reedsdale?
Apart from, may I answer your question? Apart from the unilateral undertaking, which the council have decided to be, at first it was meant to be 125,000, it's been reduced to 100,000. That's going to be allocated, I think there's another word, ring-fenced, to be donated to, with no stipulations at all, to the trust. Once that money is included, then it will be, once that money's been transferred to the trust, then it will equal the 421. It's actually £420,913 and 20 pence.
So not all that money has been transferred?
No, but the unilateral undertaking, that's due to be transferred to the council.
Okay, but there's a difference between allocated and spent.
On my poster, I do put an asterisk saying, on my post that I publish, I do put, but that money has been decided by council that that's how the money is going to be spent. So I feel a duty of care to let the public know how much of their money is being allocated to a third-party charity.
Yes.
But it will be spent unless the public are consulted, and I believe that question was asked at full council.
You'll send me those figures.
I will send you those.
Yes.
Well, I suppose it's just a sort of comment or suggestion, perhaps to do with the communication strategy. Obviously, it's great that the town council wants to sort of perhaps be a bit more proactive by the sounds of it in terms of its communications as well. I mean, I don't know if perhaps you would want to consider as part of that, if the town council wants to sort of set out a sort of a charge of commitments or whatever, how it wants to engage as well with the town. So just to touch on the points here, like the length of time it would take to reply to any sort of emails or like questions sort of submitted, or like in the town council meetings, perhaps like a commitment like that you would have a certain number of consultations and a length of time in advance, a lengthy enough time in advance to give people notice and things like that to attend. Something like that, or even like obviously the town council has the right to agree grants and things like that, but maybe there's a commitment to that, a certain thresholds. That is perhaps the time at which the town council ought to consult with the residents, whether or not there's many residents who actually take part in it or not. At least then that way there's a sort of a commitment that the town council can also point to, that we are doing our part to be open and honest and transparent, to rebuild that integrity and trust.
I would suggest ideally, and I hope Matt's taken on board things, because Matt was going to chair the working group to deal with that, and I said, openly said to Matt, I think we also should look at the potential of surgeries to attempt to deal with that. We have had a few. I know we had one at the town offices when we were talking about certain parts of the work that was done. There was a great deal of people turning up, mind you, but I get the point of at least doing it and having a pledge, and therefore that can come from that people, and I would agree. Ellie.
Can I just ask Jean, your 420,000 you've got allocated down, does that include the 250,000 that's been allocated for the roof for the last 20 odd years that's been allocated on the council things but hasn't been used?
So the calculation, all the figures I have traced back up to from April 2021. So that's all the expenditure on professional fees, scaffolding, everything that I could find from April 2021 to date.
Can I just say something? There's a lot of there's a lot of strong feelings about Paul. That's without shadow of a doubt. But it is the single community venue organisation that is open to the entire demographic of the town from pre-3 months to post-90 years old. That you don't have to belong to a faith organisation, you don't have to belong to a club, anyone can use it. We try our best to put on events that are broad, that can cater for everybody. So why wouldn't you want to spend some of that money? And I'm really supportive of the town council and the money they've spent on the various community projects and infrastructure in the town. So 250,000 on the play park, brilliant. What percentage of the demographic can use that? Yeah, the kids can do it, fab, the grandparents can look after the kids doing it, brilliant. And so long as, I really hope they use it and make use of it. Skate park, slightly smaller number use it, brilliant. My son used it, loved it, fantastic. The Mugger, another chunk of money. Actually, the organisation that benefits the most from the Mugger is the football club. So I don't have a problem with that at all. But this building is used by a load more people than those other expenses.
The issue I have on behalf of the public is that all the other assets you've named are publicly owned.
You don't speak for the public, Jean.
This building...
I will speak as a matter of fact.
Jean,
that they're all publicly owned,
is now
and that's why tax is being paid. May I finish? I'm just responding.
I'm just going to clarify.
Tax money is being paid in order to maintain, for the council to manage and maintain publicly owned assets. And the trust has an opportunity in the deed, in the old deed, has an opportunity to secure, I think, a mortgage on the building with the consent of the Secretary of State and I believe the council. But have they, I ask you now, has the trust exercised that right to do that?
No, they haven't done. No, and have they actually asked for grants for the money that have happened in the past, over the last 4 years? No, because of the misunderstanding from all people.
Sorry, say that again? Say that again?
Misunderstanding of the manner in which the trustee was produced, and unfortunately, the manner it was made back in 1982 or 4. Unfortunately, it's only because of the realisation of how that should be read has changed the situation for the Tower Board trustees to have to request the grants, because they can't just necessarily be given that money. And that's that understanding. And all the steps have been gone through to attempt to put everything on an even keel on a far more legal basis. The difficulty has been because of that, the feeling of members, and I think this is the reason why they voted for payments, is that moral responsibility for the bulk of that money that has been kept there for the purpose of supporting the hall to actually go for the purpose it was there for. I'm happy to go through all the figures and have a look at them and give a full explanation as to how they've been constructed and done. It won't be done very quickly, but I'll ask the clerk to give me some assistance to get up the final point, and I'm happy to come out. And I take on board and give you a pledge that, as far as my opinion is concerned, we will work very closely, and I've deliberately not put myself on that working group, so that the working group can establish the best way of doing it. And some of the suggestions you say, absolutely right. I am more than happy to do that. The only things we have this caveat is saying, I'm saying it for the council. I'm one person. I'm there to facilitate meetings. I abstain where possible from an awful lot of those votes, and they still get passed through. That's not me. I'm not cajoling people to make those decisions. I'm one of, in theory, up to 11 people.
Madam, I wasn't accusing you.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I'm more than happy to go forward with that type of view to improve that communication. So,
Just very quick point, Malcolm. I would urge you not to use the word surgeries, only because having been a district councillor myself, that tends to be an opportunity for individual residents with individual issues, whether it's a neighbour dispute or something else, to bring it to their individual councillor for resolution. What I think I sense is wanted here is an opportunity for as many people as wish to address the entire full council about big decisions about which they do not feel consulted, and 2 minutes for a public question with not necessarily an answer within 6 months isn't a satisfactory response. I think at some point we want an open council meeting, open to all, to interrogate and hold to account the council.
Interrogate?
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, the balance
question is interrogate.
The balance also is not have a situation of a mob war with those
Yeah,
people that can be cursed.
But there are many unanswered questions in this building and many unanswered questions in this town. Now is an opportunity to address them.
Some of those unanswered questions not actually being asked, but I see that point.
I'm obviously aware that you're not here as a councillor, neither is any councillor, you're here as residents. But could we have, just people in a room talking, right? But could we have a pledge that the council will publish some information within a period of time that we agree on now, perhaps it's within the next month, where you tell us how this communications strategy is coming together, and welcome input and feedback from residents, because if you're going to do it, it needs to work for us as well as you.
No, I can't make a pledge about the council, but I will certainly do that, and I will ask Matt to make sure that that is pushed forward to look to see if we can give you a response and show some progress on that, certainly within the month. Yeah? Jeff?
Yeah, can I just have to say to Nick, where he said that this is the only call, that you don't have to be
That's true.
connected in any way. In actual fact, the WI hall on New Road is also available for use without any sort of connection for any sort of use as well. However, that may change because the ownership has now been changed to the Gloucester Street WI. There's a potential that they may sell the hall. So you actually might lose that hall as a community centre.
Right, I'm mindful of the time. We're going to come to 22 minutes past 8. I think the major issues that have come up is about communication and this fear of lack of transparency. From a personal point of view, I am happy to say to you that I will push members of council and through the working group to actually make sure that we improve that and to give answers. And if there are specific questions that you wish, should you wish to put a question to myself, I will endeavour the best I can within a reasonable amount of time to give you an answer. Okay? Now, I won't be able to speak for the council, but I will try and give you, the best as I can, an answer to that question. Yeah? Angus?
Speaking as a resident, I've lived here 5 years. That's not a long time compared to some people, including Malcolm. But when I came from London. What I found in Moreton was a really interesting experience. On the one hand, I really felt there was a lot of community here. Like when people pass each other by, they'd say good morning, hello, they'd look at each other and acknowledge it. I would walk to the station and I'd pass people, I'd walk across the park. It wasn't so much in town. Now coming from London, that never happened. You walk along the street, you didn't particularly acknowledge anybody else because there's so many people. So I really felt there was a really fine sense of community in this place. On the other hand, when I was in London, what I found was that the sort of general tone of conversation in the area was very positive. It was enthusiastic about things. I don't know why. I'm not sure the social media that we have and the way we're using them is the most helpful thing. But what I've just noticed this evening is, and I'm not saying there may not be good cause, but what I'm experiencing is that there's a lot of pent-up, I'm going to use the word hostility in the town. It's all
Another way of looking at it is frustration. Maybe another way of looking at it is disappointment. Maybe another way is hope. I don't know. But what I do know is that if we are, what people in this town want is for us to be a fine market town, I think. And part of what makes a place a fine market town isn't the sewage works, it's the spirit of community in the town. I do feel as a resident that we need to figure out how we can manage to support and rebuild community spaces, community connections. At some point, when the sewage permissions allow, there will be 250 more houses in Spitfire coming along. There's another lot of houses on the north side on the Evenlow Road being filled up. Each of those is a bunch of people who will come and join this town. It's already happening. Forget anything else. How will we welcome them? How will they become accommodated? How do we build this town together? And what I would like, speaking as a resident, is that we turn the skills. There are some remarkable skills in this room that I've observed, and a fantastic amount of voluntary work gets done towards finding a way in which we can build community together. And of course, you know, there are things of integrity and trust and so on that sit under that. But at the moment, I'm a volunteer too, and I know how difficult it can be to be doing something with your best will, with best wishes for something in the town, and meet what is possible to meet. I really urge us to try and find a way to do that together, because there are some brilliant skills for that.
In finishing, can I just say,
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
I just said that, I agree with that.
I totally agree with that, Chris, because in contrast to meetings, the way this meeting was portrayed on social media, it was the public against council. And it just proves tonight, out of 5,000 residents, this room wasn't full. Now, Darren's campaign for overdevelopment, that was unified the town, and this was packed, and they were standing outside. So it just proves that I think we need to, instead of working against each other, we need to work together. You may not agree with the council, you just need to work a way past it, if that makes sense. You just need to work, and I totally agree, we need to work together.
Do you not think publicising the meeting would have been better? Because it's the little bit
Can I just ask you, because I saw your post, that I was going to put, but to be fair, don't annoy me too much, to put a post on social media, and I wondered if somebody's going to bring that up. We put a notice out 10 days before the meeting to say the meeting was going ahead. It was misinterpreted that you have 2 days to put advanced questions. You can put advanced questions if you wanted to, but you're more than welcome to actually say what you wanted to at the meeting, which you found out tonight. The agenda has to be published 7 days before. It was actually published 8 days before. So I think there's a misinterpretation there. From what you just said, this is a parish meeting, which is parishioners. The event you're talking about, a public meeting hosted by the council, administered by the council, their town council friends. But I do take that on board, so next time, yes, I could put paper copies.
Can I just say that this is a parish meeting, but it's organised by the council. So you would expect the council would organise publication of the event.
Yeah.
But they don't.
I take that on board, but that's like the hostility.
So that's why people don't
yeah.
turn up.
Well, that's the hostility I'm talking about.
Yeah, because if you want people to turn up, you have to tell people that it's going on. And if you don't tell people, they won't
The
turn
only
up.
two places I would have put it is by the crossing though, where I did the other two, where I put the other 2 boards up. Possibly.
Yeah,
because to be fair, there's 3 people in the office, I've got time to run around town putting posters up. You don't pay me to do that.
No, I understand that. But, you know, I mean, you know that I've done it myself, and I've walked around the town putting posters myself.
Yes.
So if I can do it,
Yes.
other councils can do it as well.
Yeah, and I agree. So next time it could be.
Chair, I have a question. Could you, and you're welcome to provide it in writing, but publicly, but I'd like a question, and that is, why is it that the Code of Conduct of that was last adopted on the 25th of May 2022, why does it permit councillors to not declare a financial interest of their spouses, of their civil partners, or anyone they live with, as if they were married to them? Why is it that they do not have to declare a financial interest? Because that's not been reviewed. We're meant to review policies at the annual meeting every year, and the Code of Conduct was not included in the annual review. And I would like to know why that this has been written in to the Code of Conduct. In writing, please.
I think you've asked the question to the
I
clerk.
won't answer that because I haven't looked into that yet. The original query you said about the Code of Conduct was back to 2021, but the question you just asked was 2022.
No, 2020. It's the same copy that I've sent you.
Anyway, the council will review its Code of Conduct on that.
I want to know why it has been written in, not when it's going to be renewed. I want to know why that it's been written into.
Was that relevant to this meeting? That is
no, it's available on public. It's actually available on the public website, on the council website. I would like to know.
Are you saying that, well, as far as I'm aware, councillors are obliged to declare
financial interests
and pecuniary interests?
Do you want me to read out aloud what it says?
Well, that is a fact. We know that's a fact.
Do you want me to read out aloud what the policy says?
Are you trying to get a personal attack on me?
No, it's here in black and white. It's here in black and white.
I seem to have a pecuniary interest in some matters.
Do not change this. I asked the question, will you answer in writing? As a resident, I want to know why, and I would like to know why it has been written into the Code of Conduct that the councillor does not have to declare a financial interest.
Malcolm won't be able to answer that question.
He won't be able to. Why?
None of the council will be able to answer that question.
So who would answer that?
Well, I don't know who's written into the Code of Conduct. It's something I need to look into because I don't
Yes.
think it's been written into the Code of Conduct.
It's, well, what do you mean it's not been written into? It's very different. It's very different to the Code of Conduct of 2019. It's a different layout, and it's been changed in 2022. And I would like to know why it's been changed.
I think you need to address that with the councillors at the time have done the.
But I think the public have a right to know that that's in the Code of Conduct.
If you've got a specific question to ask, you want to put it over to me.
Will you be able to put that in writing to me? So you said yes.
Yes.
When will you be able to put it in writing to me by?
As soon as I possibly can, within a reasonable time frame. I do need to close this meeting. It's 2 minutes over. I do really appreciate and thank the people that have come, and I can assure you that the things that have been said will be listened to and taken on board, and I do appreciate that. Many thanks.
Thank you.